Hey, everybody out there. Hi, everybody out there in Facebook and YouTube land. I want to welcome you all to the show today. It has been some time since I have been on the air with my show. And just bear with me because I'm still learning how to use everything. This is my new streaming platform. Just because of COVID-19, there has been a lot of changes. The radio station was still not allowing people to come into the studio. So I just gave up the radio contract. I was just forget it. There's no sense in me keep paying for it and they won't open back up the studio. So I had to learn a new streaming platform, which is absolutely awesome. I kind of like it. It makes the videos look a lot more professional. And I'm able to basically share some more information with you guys on the video than I was once able to do. So I'm actually kind of happy. You know, all they say, you know, the Bible says all things work out to the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. So I do believe that this situation did work out a little bit better for me because, of course, the radio show was expensive and I was the producer, so I'm the one who had to pay for that. So it took me a long time. I waited. I think we went into this quarantine in March and I just canceled that contract last month. So I really waited a long time. I tried to do my best to stick with it, but I had to get back out. God was letting me know it was time for me to continue to speak. He told me my community needed me, so it's time for me to get out here and talk. So, wow. 2020 has been crazy. So there has been a lot of changes, a lot of occurrences this year that none of us were prepared for, none of us were looking for. Even though we did have an idea of what was going on in China in December, we had no idea that this was going to impact the U.S. the way it has. And I just want to talk about some of the things that are going on. And the first thing I think I want to deal with today is going to be the Black Lives Matter situation, you know, the Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, what's going on with that. And it does have a correlation to the Bible and things that have been prophesied. But the title of today's show is Public Intoxication. And I know you guys are going to, you know, understand what does that mean and what does that have to do with the Black Lives Matter movement. But the reason why I think that this is important right now is because there's a lot going on. You know, we're fighting on so many different avenues in the United States right now. We're fighting COVID-19. We're fighting racial injustice. We're dealing with a crashing economy. We're dealing with civil rights violations going on. I mean, it's just so much going on right now that we need to get all of this stuff in perspective, and we need to talk about it today. So I'm just going to dive right on in. Like I said, this week's topic is public intoxication. And I know you're wondering, like, Bishop Dede, why the title Public Intoxication? Because this is not talking about alcohol, of course. I'm not talking about alcohol here. I'm talking about the public being intoxicated or I guess the word is intoxicated by current events. And what do I mean by intoxicated? It's like we had to deal with coronavirus, and that is swooning and swaying, and we were all over social media about it, and everybody has their opinion and views and stuff on what's going on with coronavirus and COVID-19. Then all of a sudden the Ahmaud Arbery case happened, and then we're all over media, and everybody's talking, and everybody's upset, and everybody's talking and voicing their opinion. Then the George Floyd situation happened, and everybody's talking about that, voicing their opinion, and the Amber Geiger. I mean, so many things have been going on, and that we've all been talking about all these different things, and the media has just keep feeding those emotions. And when I say intoxication, I'm not talking about alcohol. I'm talking about the emotional uprise that's going on in people now because of so many things that's going on in the world. And the media is constantly feeding that emotion, and it's constantly keeping us off balance and unstable in our thinking, because just when we were starting to wrap our minds around what's going on with coronavirus, then these racial injustices started happening back to back to back to back to back. And we as a people, and I'm not even talking about black people, I'm talking about the United States as an American people, have just been really bombarded with issues in 2020. And it's like our heads are spinning. It's like, oh my God, could this get any worse? And then to top it off, we're dealing with a racially insensitive president. We're dealing with a socially insensitive president. We're dealing with a leader that is not, I don't think he is even socially equipped to. People have just been kind of feeling like we're left to figure it out on our own. And it's like, what's going on? What's next? So what I want to talk about today is public intoxication, the Black Lives Matter movement. And there are going to be 4 different areas that we're going to discuss today. Is it even possible to end police brutality? That's going to be the first thing we're going to talk about. Then number 2, we're going to talk about the Black Lives Matter fraud, because there is some deception in the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, I'm going to get into that later because I was about to start talking, but y'all know when I get started, I get started. So number 3, we're going to talk about making Black lives really matter. I mean, we have to take the Black Lives Matter movement seriously, and we need to make it an all-encompassing movement. And then we're going to be talking about the media smoke and mirrors, how the media is being used as a tool to continue to intoxicate the public with all of these different issues in an effort to blind us to certain things that are really going on. So, number 1, is it possible to end police brutality? In my opinion, the short answer is no. Let's just keep it real. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. And so, is it possible to end police brutality? Like I said, my short answer is no. And the reason why I feel that way is simply because we're going to have a police force. And in the police force, there are going to be people that are going to be hired, that are going to be unstable, that are not going to make good decisions, that are going to do stupid things, that are going to be more racially motivated. There's no way the police can weed out racist people from the police department. That's virtually impossible, because upon getting hired, a person's not going to say, well, hey, I'm with the KKK and I want to get hired so I can beat up black people. No, they're not going to say that. They're going to do everything, because there is a mental evaluation. There is a physical evaluation. There is things that police have to go through to get qualified. So obviously, that process needs to be evaluated in order to help us streamline letting some of these people in to begin with. But there's no perfect system. So, of course, police brutality will never come to an end. So what do we as Black people and brown people and people who suffer most at the hands of police brutality can hope for? So what our goal needs to be is not necessarily creating an end to police brutality, because like I said, that's going to be virtually impossible. That's not going to happen, because all while we're protesting police brutality is still happening. So duh, it's not going to end. So what we do need to do is put stiffer penalties and make it harder for police to get away with police brutality. We need to make police officers think twice before committing acts of brutality. We need to incentivize officers to not be abusive. So how can we incentivize an officer to not commit police still hear me because it's saying, so the incentive is not to reward them for not committing police brutality. The incentive is to have stiff penalties in place so if they do. So these are some of the suggestions and things that I was thinking about. And my son brought one issue to me, and that's ending qualified immunity for police officers. And if you don't know what qualified immunity is, I'm going to read it for you. It is the legal doctrine that protects government officials from civil lawsuits unless victims can show officers violated clearly established, see, this is the difference, clearly established constitutional or statutory rights. So we need to make sure that we put some new laws in place that make certain things a violation of constitutional rights. So we need to make it not just banning chokeholds, because a lot of police departments since the George Floyd incidents have banned chokeholds. We need to go a little step further to make it an automatic crime. And I don't know if they've done this already, but it needs to be made an automatic crime and grounds for immediate dismissal if an officer uses a chokehold on a suspect. It needs to be automatic charges, an automatic charge of assault. It needs to, or attempted murder. I don't care what, it needs to be a very serious penalty if an officer chooses to use a chokehold even after it has been banned by the police department. So we need to go a step further to not only ban this move, but we need to make it an automatic crime. Because if I ever, as a civil person walking down the street and I accost somebody and I put them in a chokehold, I'm getting charged with an assault. I might be getting charged with attempted murder. So we need to make sure that police officers are subject to the same laws and penalties that civilians are, even while on the job. So qualified immunity needs to go because it allows police officers to somehow be above the law, and we got to get rid of that. So what we need to do, aside from making certain things clearly illegal and violations of constitutional, we need to make sure that everybody understands that people have a right to live. So when you put somebody in a chokehold, you're restricting their ability to breathe, which is hindering, which is threatening their ability to live. So we need to understand that these things need to be automatic crimes. It's not about us waiting on some kind of grand jury to decide if they're going to charge the officers in the event. No, get rid of that. That needs to go. There is no grand jury. If you put a suspect in a chokehold, whether this person dies or not, if you put them in a chokehold and you're an officer and this hold is illegal, you automatically lose your job and get charged with assault. Automatic. There is no grand jury for this. This is automatic. And it has to be same day automatic processing. It's not they commit a crime and 3 months later they get arrested. No, the moment that a superior officer sees a video of a police officer putting a suspect in a chokehold, that is immediate arrest. There is no question as to why they put him in a chokehold, what the suspect was doing that you put him in a chokehold. It don't matter. Whatever they're doing, you cannot put a suspect in a chokehold, period. And then it needs to go a step further to make it illegal to further restrain a suspect that is already in handcuffs. If you have a suspect laying on the ground in handcuffs, there is no need for you to be sitting on their back. There's no need for you to have your knee on their head. There's no need for you to have your knee in their neck. You have this person in handcuffs laying on the ground. Get off of their body. You're not allowed to put your physical weight on a suspect who is handcuffed. That needs to be an automatic crime. Not grounds for suspension, not grounds for internal punishment. No, that's grounds for immediate dismissal and criminal charges. If you got somebody in handcuffs and you already got them down and in handcuffs, like George Floyd was laying flat on the ground on his stomach in handcuffs, And that man had his knee on that man's neck for several minutes. That was unnecessary. And then you don't see around on the other side of the car that there's other officers physically holding him down as well. Now, I understand you might want to hold a suspect's ankles because they're kicking. I can understand that because you got them in handcuffs, you can hold their ankles with your hands. There's no reason for you to sit your entire being on top of it. There's no cause for that. And I feel like any officer that does that should be automatically charged with the crime of assault and should automatically lose their jobs. We have to stop having gray areas when it comes to this. And that's the reason why so many officers are getting away with it, because we got gray areas. We got this question, it's the most irritating thing. Like when a man beats his wife, you have some people say, well, what'd she do? It don't matter. What she do? Should a man be beating his wife? So if an officer is further restraining an already handcuffed, subdued suspect, there should be no question as to what he's doing. The reason, no, get off of him. And I also think that we need to make it not a crime for civilians to intervene. Now, I know they had already passed some laws in several states where officers can now intervene in the actions of another officer to help save a person's life from police brutality. But what if you got 50 people standing around and you got this officer got a man in a chokehold? Like the main thing that bothered me about the George Floyd situation was that you had 4 police officers on that scene, surrounded by who knows how many people, at least 50, right? Those people were physically able to get that. But the problem is, and I feel like we should have a videotape requirement maybe, but as long as they have proof that they are intervening to save the life of a suspect who is at the hands of police brutality at that moment, yes, I think somebody should have been able to walk over and push that officer Chauvin off of him. Like, get off of him. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like we need to find some way where police officers are not allowed to just shoot and kill somebody who is intervening to save a life of somebody who's in police brutality. So and I know that seems a little dangerous for the person that might be intervening, but I feel like if there's protections in place that the person of death by in the civil law. And another thing that I want in getting rid of police brutality would also be to disband police unions. I think police unions need to go. And the reason why is because police unions are like gangs. They're like these bullies in the police department that gridlock the internal affairs function of the police. Because believe it or not, we've all watched, CSI, and we've all watched Law and Order. We all know that there is an internal affairs department of the police department that's meant to police the police. But the reason why that the IA kind of has a hard time doing its job is because of police unions who interfere and actually gridlock the IA process with all these rules and regulations. So I think what we need to do is get rid of and disband police unions. And then we need to get rid of paid leave. That's another thing that needs to go. If an officer knows that even if he shoots a person, if he kills a person, whatever, he's going to be put on administrative leave. That means this person's getting a paid vacation for killing somebody. Like, how long were George Floyd's officers on paid leave before they actually got fired and charged? So we need to make sure that we get rid of paid leave. So my suggestion is anytime an officer shoots an unarmed assailant, anytime, that's automatic unpaid leave. That's automatic unpaid suspension. They do not get to get paid while that shooting isn't being investigated. If that person that they shot did not have a weapon and they were found to be unarmed, no, you're gonna get unpaid leave. See, because if a lot of these officers realized that they had stiffer penalties for committing police brutality and shooting people, then they wouldn't do it as much. But see, basically, they getting paid to do the stuff that they do, because when they do it, they get paid leave. Throughout the term of the investigation, they're getting paid. Then they also, if they get charged, get legal representation that we pay for through their police union. No, we need to get rid of all these benefits that officers have that allow them to kill and abuse people and get paid time off and paid vacations, and we pay. No, I mean, they should get the same raggedy public defender that I would get if I was charged with something. So no, we need to end a lot of police benefits that enable and empower and kind of incentivize police brutality. I mean, you see, they're not getting punished enough for them not to. I mean, why? They don't get a paid vacation. Not only should we make it an automatic suspension, unpaid suspension, if an officer shoots an unarmed suspect, and we got to give it. And I'm tired of hearing this. Oh, I thought he had a gun. I don't want no. I don't care if they say they thought he had a gun. I don't care if they say they felt their life was in danger. If they find out that that person that they shot, whether they killed them or not, did not have a weapon and was unarmed, that's automatic suspension, termination, and automatic charges. Forget all these investigations. It's automatic. Because there's no reason for an armed officer to shoot somebody who does not have a weapon. And fearing for your life is not enough, because if you have a gun and they don't, and you still fear for your life, you don't need to be a cop. Get your scary tail off the force, because you ain't nothing but a hired assassin at that point waiting to happen. Because all you doing is killing people because you scared, and that's a lie. There's so many killers and psychopaths on the police force, serial killers on the police force getting away with murder because they say, oh, I was fearing for my life. I fear for my life all the time. I can't pull out a gun and just shoot somebody. I have people that walk past me that look suspicious. I have people that come up on my car being all weird. I still can't pull out my gun and just shoot somebody because they do. I'm going to jail for it. So how come officers can have somebody walk up on their car and just because you don't see no weapon, you feel a certain type of way, you can just shoot and kill them and it's okay? No. So we need to get rid of a lot of the protections that officers have that allow them to shoot and kill people and abuse people and get away with it. Another thing I think we should have is automatic criminal charges. Like I said, if you shoot an unarmed suspect, it needs to be automatic criminal charges for that. If you turn off your police surveillance equipment, that should be automatic criminal charges, not automatic suspension. No, that officer needs to be charged with a crime because they are impeding an investigation, because wouldn't I get charged for the same thing? Because you have to understand, their actions have to be investigated by internal affairs through the video cams. So if they turn investigation, they get charged for obstruction of justice. So we need to get rid of all these protections that officers have. So now, to speak about the things that need to be done on the official end to help with police brutality, we're going to also speak about countermeasures that we can employ as citizens to help ourselves not be a victim of police brutality. And I'm gonna say this because I know there's gonna be some people that's gonna get mad about this one. I really don't care. We need to stop resisting arrest. I can't tell you. Now with Ahmaud Arbery and with George Floyd and several other victims' videos I've seen, they were not necessarily resisting arrest. Those were just victims. I understand that. But there are other videos of people, and it doesn't justify officers killing them, but when you resist arrest, you open the door to your life not necessarily making it out of that situation. If an officer tells you that I am placing you under arrest, once they make that statement, you're not going to fight your way out of that. You can say no all day long, and once that cop decides to arrest you, you're going to get arrested. So why do I constantly see videos of people fighting, resisting arrest? It doesn't matter if you think that arrest is justified or not. Once that officer decides to arrest you, you're not going to get out of that by fighting with them. That's not wise. And I understand your outrage, and I understand the frustration of being falsely arrested, and I understand your frustration of being racially profiled and getting charged for stuff that you didn't do. And I understand that 9 times out of 10, once we're in the court system, we're going to be found guilty. I understand that. But wouldn't you rather have been found guilty of a crime than to lose your life? Die? Your family has to bury you because you fought the police officers? And just let's be real. Sometimes y'all guilty of what it is you being arrested for. But you want to fight the police and argue anyway. No, stop that. I was watching this video, and I'm sure you all have seen it on Facebook, where this guy was supposedly, and I'm going to say supposedly, peeing on the side of the street, on the side of his truck. Officers see him standing. You put up on him, you can see somebody pants down. You ain't got to see their penis to be able to tell that they peeing. And then you look on the ground, and he see the pee streaming from up under the truck. You walk up on it, you can smell the urine. But this man chose to stand there and argue with the police that he wasn't doing it, and arguing, resisting the arrest and all that stuff. Luckily, this officer wasn't out to kill nobody, so this man didn't die. But even me watching that video, dude, you was peeing on the side of the truck. Why is you arguing with this man? Why are you arguing with him? You just caught. And see, sometimes I think we get mad just because we get caught, and you want to argue with the police, and then you want to throw up racism and police brutality. Oh, they trying. Come on now, black people. I'm not discrediting anybody that has been a legitimate victim of false arrest and police brutality, but I do know my people. And some of us will act a fool, claim police brutality, and knowing we dead wrong. Knowing we guilty. Now let's just I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I've been a victim of police brutality. I had an officer walk up to me. I was fighting to help protect my children. They were getting jumped. We were living in Garden Valley. We lived there for 7 years. Yes, Bishop D lived in the projects. 7 years. And my niece and nephew, it wasn't even my kids, my niece and nephew was getting jumped out there by a whole gang of people. I had to go out there. Yes, I had a bat swinging, getting these kids up off my niece and nephew. And then I got them in the house. Now these kids trying to run up in my house. I'm standing out there swinging my bat. Ain't nobody finna come up in my house. We're not having it. So then when the police get on the scene, I guess somebody called the police. Now me, I'm thinking that somebody called the police to let them know these kids trying to bombard my house. But no, somebody called the police and said, there's a grown woman out there swinging bat at little kids. Oh, really? I didn't know that was the call. So when the officer came on the scene, I'm on the phone with my mom, who is the guardian of my niece and nephew that was getting into this altercation with the kids down there. So I'm letting her know what's going on. So the officer walks up to me. I'm on the telephone with my mother. He says, get off the phone. We need to know what happened. Now, my boyfriend standing right next to me. I said, well, you can talk to him. He know what happened. Now, me, I don't know why they were called to the scene. And I feel like the officer at that point should have informed me that I was called here because you were out there swinging a bat at the kids. Now, see, he didn't inform me as to why he wanted me to get off the phone, because he felt like just because he told me to get off the phone, I was supposed to get off my phone. Now, I know I don't have to get off my phone. I said, I'm talking to the kid's mother, the guardian of the children out here. And he walks up to me and he snatches my phone out my hand and threw it on the ground, grabbed me, dragged me to the car, picked me up. Now, mind you, at this time, I'm not the thickness that I am now. I was barely 140 pounds. He picked me up and slammed me on the hood of a car. And everybody was around. See, but that at the time, we didn't have social media and all these cameras and stuff to catch what happened to me. Then we on the way to the police department. I'm complaining about being in pain. I think I'm got a rib broken or something being slammed on the car. They decided to take me to the hospital. So while we sitting at the hospital, I got the presence of mind to be paying attention. I see the officers over there whispering to the doctor. And they was like, could you drug test her? And I looked at, and the doctor was talking back with him. I said, why are you discussing me with them? He said, well, they're the ones that brought you in here. I said, I don't care. I said, you're not supposed to be discussing me with them. He said, but the city is the one paying. I said, I don't care. You're still not supposed to be discussing my medical care and condition with them. And then he threw his hands up and he walked away from the police officers. I said, and I'm not submitting to a drug test. Because what they wanted to do, because they knew that I had a police brutality case against them, they wanted to get me drug tested so they could say, oh, well, look, she's a drug addict. She's this, she's that. No, Boo, I know my rights. You didn't have a right to drug test me. That's not going to happen. So that didn't happen. The case wound up actually getting thrown out of court. But I still got the resisting arrest charge. So this is another thing that I think needs to be done away with. They need to get rid of the court's ability to charge and convict somebody of resisting arrest when the initial charge is dismissed. Because at the end of the day, under the Constitution, I do have a right to resist arrest when I'm innocent of the crime I'm being arrested for. Now, is it wise to resist arrest? Like I said earlier in the video, don't resist arrest. But the courts need to get rid of this thing where a person can be arrested, found not guilty, but because they argue with the police officers on the scene and said that they was innocent and they didn't do nothing wrong, that they can still get a resisting arrest charge. No, if you throw out the charge, you got to throw out the resisting arrest charge too. If you're going to throw out assaulting, or if you're going to throw out the fact that I assaulted this police officer, and you're going to throw out the aggravated menacing charge, then you're going to throw out that resisting arrest charge, and I'm going to walk out of here with no charges. That's the way that need to go down. But see, the reason why the court system has to charge you with something, because then now you have a case against them if they don't. So we need to get rid of the ability to charge somebody with resisting arrest and, well, actually not charge them, but to convict them of resisting arrest when the original charge was dropped. So, and then my second thing is that we need to stop doing to not become a victim of police brutality is that you need to stop provoking the police. And I don't get me wrong, I understand cops don't have a right. Let's get this clear. They don't have a right to beat you up because you cursing and yelling at them and calling them. I done seen videos where people standing up in cops' faces, calling them all kind of B words and MFers and threatening them, doing all kind of stuff in these officers' faces. And these officers is like, look, dude. Now we gotta understand, officers are human too. Now they not super people. And if you can't deal with somebody standing in your face, now the way black people snap off of somebody calling them a nigga, if somebody call you a nigga, you ready to whoop they tail. They not gonna get away from you without that butt whooping. But yet you think just because an officer is an officer that you can stand in his face and call him all type of names and he ain't human too. So stop provoking police, because 9 times out of 10, that ain't going your way. That's not going to end in your favor. You might die. Okay? Be smart. It ain't about being no punk, and it ain't about them just getting away with talking to you. Look, when you stand there with somebody that got a gun and you don't, I ain't got no problem with being no punk, and you got a gun and I don't. I will be a B word. I would, okay, you win, you got it. Because you got a gun and I don't. I'm not stupid. And that's where a lot of us, we do wrong out here. You know them officers got guns. You know they got techniques to take you out before you even get a chance to do anything to them. And you want to get up in their face and puff up and act like how big and bad you are and what you can do to them. They'll kill you. Stop being stupid. This ain't the time to be big, bad, and bold. And then we learn we need to comply with reasonable demands. Now, don't get me wrong. Nothing that I've said here gives the police the right to do anything. But you never know what you're dealing with. You don't know what type of officer you talking to when they come on the scene. You don't know if this officer then had a bad day. You don't know if this officer just lost a family member. You don't know if this officer is abusive. You don't know if he's racist. You don't know what he is. You don't know what type of person you dealing with. Act like that. Don't be stupid. But think about it like this. When you go to the hospital, they put on all their protective gear, right? Because they don't know what they're dealing with. You might not have no disease, but they're going to treat you like you got a disease to protect themselves. So when you come face to face with an officer, treat him like he racist. Approach him like he crazy. Deal with him like he might kill you. Protect yourself. Act like you got some sense. And comply with reasonable demands. If they ask you for your ID, give them. We understand that sometimes they gonna do stuff that they shouldn't be asking you for your ID. They shouldn't be racially profiling you. They shouldn't be doing stuff. Okay, we get it. I understand. But do you want to live today? Think about it like this for a minute. Do you want to live? Do you want to walk away from that situation on your 2 feet? Or do you want to leave that situation in a body bag? If you got your ID and you ain't got no crimes and you ain't got nothing to hide and you ain't got no warrants, give them your ID. So, I mean, come on now, people. A lot of times I look at these videos and I be so mad at us. Like you spend a whole 30 minutes, get slammed on the ground, resisting arrest, getting beat up, possibly killed and shot by this officer, all because you felt like you didn't have to give them your ID. Then when you sit behind bars or you dead, you or your family members think, I should just gave him the ID. Comply with reasonable requests, okay? If they ask you your name, give them your name. If they ask you for your ID and you got your ID, give them your ID. I'm telling you, I done gave cops my ID knowing full well I got a warrant. And they still let me go. And I'm black, honey, and I'm dealing with officers. White officers. I done dealt with white officers. Most of the time when I get pulled over, it's a white officer. Now, I have one instances, and let me tell you, I done been arrested a lot. I had one instance where a cop physically, did too much. But any other time, I've never been a victim of police brutality. Now, have I been a victim of maybe racial profiling? Probably. One time I know I got pulled over in Parma because I had a black male in my car and they wanted to know who this man was. They pulled me over and picked with us just because of that. I know that. But when they asked me for my ID, I gave, well, here you go. What's his name? Here it is. I told them his name. They told my car and everything. I had to go sit at the police station, wait for somebody to come bring me some money so I can get my car at the impound because they wind up charging me with my daughter not being in a car seat. But I walked away alive. We got to be smart sometimes dealing with the police. We be crazy out here. Okay, so then we got the Black Lives Matter fraud. Now, this is what we need to talk about. And I guess this is going to be a pretty long video just because I just haven't been online for a while, and there's so many things that I want to talk about. But right now, I'm about to pull up the Black Lives Matter website, and we need to talk about this because it's not that I'm against Black Lives Matter in any way, shape, or form as far as the movement Black Lives Matter. I'm not against that, but I am against the organization Black Lives Matter. I'm completely against that organization. And I'm going to share with you some things that I noticed. Even in reading the website, they specifically mention Black women, and they specifically mention Black trans women. They specifically mention Black children, but no one time on this website do they speak to Black men and the abuse that Black men go. Now they bring up specific Black names like, Trayvon Martin and stuff like. They bring up these big name cases, but when you go to speak to what you read, what they believe, they talk about Black people in general, and then they specify Black women, Black trans women, and Black children. But there's nowhere in this do they say anything about Black men or Black males, and it was quite interesting to me, and I didn't. It was weird. It was just weird to read their belief statements. And then if you ever go on the Black Lives Matter website, what I want you to do is to look at the fact that you got their beliefs. So first I got to the website, it took me aback when I saw where it says what we believe. That sounded more like a religion to me. That was kind of weird. So that made me, click on what they believe and look at what they believe. And so here's a few things that kind of caught my attention. They said the thing about the Black Lives Matter group or organization that I don't like is, first of all, it's pushing the LGBTQ movement. And my thing of it is, you don't have to, if you say Black Lives Matter, that includes all Black lives automatically. Automatically. Anybody who's Black, whether they're gay, straight, transgender, or whatever, when you make the statement Black Lives Matter, that includes all Black people. Is there something I'm missing here? That includes everybody that's Black, right? Because Black lives matter. If they're Black and gay, guess what? Black lives matter. If they're Black and transgender, guess what? Black lives matter. But because this organization specifically goes into how they're going to help the LGBTQ community and their pushes for that segment of the Black population, gives me pause, because they state in their beliefs, and I'm just going to read this to you. Give me just a moment. I'm on their page now. Let me minimize this and share this with you all. So I'm on their page. So they say, we are guided by the fact that all Black lives matter, regardless of actual or perceived sexual identity, gender expression. So I'm completely blown back, because these are the first three things that they mention is sexual identity, gender identity, and gender expression. This lets you know that this group is all about LGBTQ. Then it goes on to say economic status, ability, disability, religious beliefs or disbeliefs, and immigration status or location. Then if you continue to read right here, I'm highlighting this. We make space for transgender brothers and sisters to participate and lead. Then it goes on to say, we are reflexive and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege. Now listen to what they're saying. They want to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift Black. Now, you know what cisgender means. Let's look up the word cisgender. Let me make sure y'all understand what this organization is really about. Because even though they're saying Black Lives Matter and all Black lives matter, they're looking to dismantle cisgender privilege. So what does the word cisgender mean? Okay, so cisgender means denoting or relating to a person whose sense of personal identity and gender corresponds with their birth sex. So what they're doing, in a sense, just like we're talking about white privilege, they're finna start using cisgender privilege, which means people who, I was born a woman. So because I was born a woman and I believe that I was born a woman and my identity is based on the fact that I was born a woman, they consider that privilege. Cisgender, like we have some type of privilege in the society that is above and beyond their privilege in society as Black people. So let me just backtrack for a moment, because we hear a lot of people talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, and we want to encompass all things related to Black Lives Matter, such as Black on Black crime and the breakdown of the Black family, and the other things that we can do in the Black community, like, you know, get drug dealers off the street, XYZ, all these other things that we can do to help promote that Black Lives Matter slogan. But then you're quickly put in your place by the organization and its leaders that, no, we're just talking about violence and police brutality and racial injustice. But they said they're looking to dismantle cisgender privilege. That has nothing to do with racial injustice. That has nothing to do with police brutality. That has nothing to do with what they say the organization stands for. But when you go look at their website, you're going to find out what this organization is really about. So go back to that again. They said we are reflexive and do the work required. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to make this bigger for you guys to see. And we do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift Black trans folk, especially Black trans women, who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonistic violence. Now, I can understand you don't want any group of people to deal with violence. Now, I understand no group of people deserve to be physically attacked or accosted because of any reason. You know, I don't care. You gay, you ain't got a right to go out here and beat up gay folks. You trans, you don't like transgender, you don't have a right to go beat up and kill transgender people. This is no different than Paul in the Bible, when he felt like the Christians were against God and he was going around having Christians killed, until Jesus had to knock him on the butt on the road to Damascus, like, what is you doing? These is my people. Why are you killing them? And so Paul had to come to the realization that even though he thought he was right and doing the right thing, that he was actually dead wrong in God's eyes. So no, I don't believe that anybody should have to suffer violence because of who they are or what they choose to be, because I don't believe nobody's born with any of these LGBTQ tendencies. I think they are just that. They are well, we ain't gonna get into that issue right now because that's not the purpose of this video. But then we're gonna go on to read another thing that caught my eye on this website, is that we disrupt, listen to what this says now. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement. What is the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement? That is nothing but one man. Is bowing to this. So they actually are letting you know pretty much they are in opposition to God. And they said other extended family and villages to collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree, now this is what caught my eye, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. Now notice that, where's fathers at in this? Notice we done read this website and you don't hear nothing really about men. Mind you, this organization was started by 3 women, Black women, 2 of which identify as lesbian and queer. Now, they said especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, it doesn't that include mother? But instead of saying fathers, they say mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. Are they eliminating fathers from the Black community? Like, listen, read this website. You're going to really win. And then it goes on to say, we foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip, listen to these words now, of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that all in the world are heterosexual, unless he or she disclose otherwise. So this group, Black Lives Matter, who was started by 3 women, 2 of which identify as members of the LGBTQ, blatantly state in their website that that's what the goal of this organization is to push the rights of the LGBTQ over and above the rest of the Black community. So not only do they claim to represent Black lives, but they all overtly admit that not only do they do that, but they're focused on a certain section of the population of Black people, and that's the LGBTQ. So we need to stop and think for a minute. So then they say above that they believe that all lives matter, and religious beliefs is something that they feel like should matter. But yet their whole entire mantra goes against some of the religious beliefs of Black people. So in a sense, this organization is subconsciously excluding members of the Black community who may be against the lifestyles of the LGBTQ. So even with the Black Lives Matter organization, not all Black lives matter equally to them. If you go on their website, you read this and you take the time to look at that and understand that Christians who are promoting the Black Lives Matter movement need to be very careful in not supporting the Black Lives Matter organization. Because to support the Black Lives Matters organization puts you in opposition to God if you're a Christian Black person. So yes, I got Black Lives Matter gear, but I did not get it from the Black Lives Matter organization. I'm sorry. I cannot financially support this group because of what their goals are and what they're looking to do. So I'm not against the premise Black Lives Matter, but I am against the organization Black Lives Matter. Sorry, I don't support that. So, and we need to, as Black Christians, make sure that we understand what this organization stands for before we decide that that's something that we are going to support. We don't want to put ourselves in opposition to God because we're supporting an organization because of the color of our skin. Just because it says Black Lives Matter does not mean all Black people need to be supporting this organization. No. Okay, so there's segment 3. This is what we're going to talk about now. Making Black lives really matter. What do I mean when I say that? So as we have learned over the weeks, I'm sure you've probably heard these debates as well. When you bring up other issues in the Black community where Black lives need to matter, such as Black on Black crime and taking the responsibility for the family and being willing to make sacrifices for the community, we constantly get hit with that. Oh, well, that's not what the Black Lives Matter movement is about. It's not about black on black crime. It's not about the black family, and it's not about this. It's about ending police brutality and crimes and racial and social injustice, racial injustice. But we clearly just read on the Black Lives Matter website that that's not what that organization is entirely about. They're about way more things than that. But it's odd to me that they don't include black on black crime in this Black Lives Matter movement. Yes, we want to fight racial injustice. Yes, we want to get rid of police brutality. Yes, we want to, deal with racial injustice. But if Black Lives Matter, really, we have to start at home. You can't scream to the white folks, Black Lives Matter, and then kill your brother, beat up on your wife, not take care of your kids. Black Lives Matter have to matter to black people. We do. I mean, it starts at home. The Bible says that any man that doesn't take care of his home is less than an infidel. You make yourself look like a hypocrite when you screaming at other races that they need to respect your life. And you as a people don't respect your life. You get mad because these white folks call you a nigga, disrespect our women and rape our women and beat up and kill our kids and disrespect and beat our men. But we don't get mad when we doing it to each other? Come on now. No. If black lives are going to matter, they're going to have to matter to us too. We can't hold out this hypocritical view that, oh, Black Lives Matter only talks about this. No, because these people gonna smack y'all in the face with your hypocrisy. And that's what these white racist folks are doing, smacking black folks in the face with their own hypocrisy. If you want the Black Lives Matter movement to be taken seriously and respected, then we have to not be hypocrites when it comes to screaming Black Lives Matter. If a black man senselessly kills his brother, we need to be in his face just like we in the face of a white cop who senselessly kills one of our men. We can't make it okay for us to do it and then wrong for them to do it. We can't. That's hypocrisy. Black lives have to matter to black people. So if the Black Lives Matter movement is not pushing to end black on black crime, there's a problem. If the Black Lives Matter movement is not getting on men that's beating up their women, but yet you'll get on cops that's beating up these men, we look like hypocritical fools. Black lives got to matter all across the board, or they don't matter at all. We hypocrites if we don't take a full Black Lives Matter stand. And then we got to do more than fuss and cuss over racism. We got to do more than that. We got to do more than tearing down buildings and painting murals and screaming Black Lives Matter and protesting and yelling. And we got to do more than get angry. I know everybody's going to say, oh, well, yeah, you got to get out there and vote. That's going to be another whole video. If you honestly believe that our vote, just merely us voting for candidates who claim to care about us, who say they're going to do for us, is what's going to create racial equality in this country, you are deceiving yourselves. Look at this government for real. It is set up to keep certain people in ultimate power. And if you truly see that, then you know your vote really, it might matter on small things, but in the long run, it's not going to create the racial equality that we are looking for as black people. It's not. We had a whole black president. And what did he accomplish for the black people? Not much. Because those people that he really had to answer to, which was Congress and Senate, who really controlled what's going on, only let legislation pass that was a part of their agenda. That's it. That's why you saw most of what Obama accomplished was LGBTQ rights, because that's part of this whole satanic agenda and government agenda in the first place. So, of course, those things were going to get passed. Other than that, not much was done for Black people. Okay? So we have to do more than that. We have to figure out that we're not going to get what we want from this government. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. So we need to come up with a way where Black people can govern themselves. And that's where we need to be. We need to be in a place where, you know, how Indians have their own reservation. They really don't answer to the local authorities. We need to be in a place where Black people can govern themselves. And it doesn't even have to be a formal government setup. It could be just us, you know, within our own selves and within our own community saying, this is what's right for us. This is what we're going to do. We know what the current laws are. We need to create a subset of laws to help us navigate the laws that are in place. There are things that we can do. But realizing we can't dismantle this whole entire racist system. It's been around too long. It's built to protect itself. These racist folks that created this government system wasn't stupid, because they put things in place to protect their system from failing. So it don't matter how many Black candidates we get in office, they still got to answer to a white body. So at the end of the day, whites keep ultimate power in this country. Racists keep ultimate power in this country. It's set up that way. In order for us to get equal power, in order for us to get what it is we truly need, in order to be free people for real, is a complete dismantling of this government system. And we ain't got the military power to do that as a Black race. Okay? So we might have the capability in the heart, but we ain't got the artillery. Because if you try to dismantle this government or come against the government, that's considered treason. They're killing our butts. We out of here. Why you think they're trying to push us to want to do some stupid stuff like that? Because they know they can call it treason and considering the full military force on us. Why you think they stirring up these race wars to get Black people mad and militarized and militant and angry and walking around toting guns? Because then they know once we stop pointing that rage at racists and start pointing it at government where it truly belongs, because that's the avenue that racists use to oppress, then they're gonna call us traitors and treasonous, and then they're gonna do what they've been wanting to do, martial law, and they're gonna send the whole military force in on us. So be smart, Black people. They know what they're doing. Okay, so then that leads right into my fourth segment, which is the fact that the media is being used as a tool by the government to complete this whole race war saga. They are being used to keep the race war going, which is necessary for them to enact martial law, which is necessary for them to bring in military force against Black people, because that's who they want to get, is us. It's not that the government wants to depopulate, so they're gonna get rid of all, all races, but they want to get rid of us first. Then they're gonna go for the Hispanics, then they're gonna go for the, because they really want to they want to depopulate. So they're looking to get rid of everybody. And at the end of the day, they want it to be just them. I'm telling you, that's the way it goes. So, but Black people, we the largest, we're the largest minority group, so they need to get rid of us first. So that's the reason why they're creating this race war between Black and white, because Hispanics are just as racist against Blacks too, but you don't really see that in the news. And Asians are just as racist against Blacks, but you don't see that much of that in the news too. You see some of it, but not much of it. I was just dealing with a Hispanic boss who was very racist towards Black people, and I called him out on it. Lost my job over it, but hey, you know, God got me. So we need to understand that this media engine is purposely focused on white on Black crime, because they're trying to get black, they're trying to constantly rip that Band-Aid off the sore. They don't want to let black people heal, because to heal black people is to silence black people and to be black. But no, they want us mad all the time. They want to keep ripping that wound off and keep us angry and keep us, they doing it for a reason. Because they hoping that it gets to the point that black people really do what they want them to do, and that's really act the fool. See, the riots and stuff was getting us to where they wanted it to be, but then the riots started to die down because they supposedly gave us stuff to pacify the riots, but we didn't even realize that we just being pacified. How is it that we do all this fighting for racial injustice and then they give us a holiday, and then all of a sudden I don't hear about protests and riots anymore? Soon as Juneteenth, then all of a sudden where's the riots and the protests? What all they do is give you a little raggedy holiday that y'all think means so much because that was the last day, the phrase was her. If we free, then what is we fighting for? If black people are truly free, then why do we have a Black Lives Matter organization anyway? This is nothing but the new systematic slavery. We ain't free. Until I'm free to go do what I want and get a loan and start a business and get treated in this system just like any other person, that's not freedom. Because we ain't in chains and we ain't in somebody's basement in a cage, we think we free. We in their socioeconomic cage. Black people can't make $1 without white people making $1. It's just, we not financially separate from them. And they always are in the superior position. Even if you own your own business as a black person, you're supplied by a white business. Even if I go open up me a restaurant right now, I got to go get stuff from Sam's Club. I got to go get stuff from Restaurant Depot. I got to go get stuff from the terminal. All that stuff owned by white people. So we're truly not free of them. We're not independent of them in no way, shape, or form. Nothing that we can do is going to free us from this system because the system is designed to keep us in the system. So just because they give us a holiday, they give us this. Are we past them letting us paint a mural on the street that they own means nothing. Them letting us paint murals on the sides of buildings that they own mean nothing. If I got a choice between letting you put a mural on this building versus you burning it down, guess what? Go, Black Lives Matter. Go ahead and put a mural on my building. I'd rather for you to put a mural on my building than burn it down. Come on, y'all, you're being pacified. I'm not calling for nobody to go out here and burn down nobody's building either. But what I'm saying is, don't think that the concessions that are being made by white people is because they truly care about our mission. No, they are protecting themselves and their assets from a bunch of angry niggas. Flat out. If I see you coming towards my house and you mad and you ready to burn my house down, I'm white, I'm coming out that porch, Black Lives Matter. I could be the biggest racist in the world, but guess what? Black Lives Matter, because I don't want you to tear down my house. As soon as you walk away, them dumb niggas. Come on now. But y'all ain't ready to hear that because y'all, deep down inside, as much as we want to fight for racial justice, we just love us some white people and we want their acceptance. We don't feel like we didn't got nowhere unless they see us. See, and I get so mad because I hear so many black people say, oh, well, they see us now. They hear us now. They can't ignore us now. It's like a bunch of kids trying to get mommy and daddy attention. Anyway, now to see how the media has been using how the government and businesses have been using the media to create smoke and mirrors. Now, what's smoke and mirrors mean? If y'all don't know what smoke and mirrors mean, that means smoke is meant to blind you, and then mirrors are meant to reflect images off of what you're looking at. And so when somebody can create smoke and mirrors, that you really not seeing what's really going on because you're looking in a mirror, so you're only seeing yourself, and then that's even smoky, so you never get a clear vision of really what's going on around you if you're surrounded by smoke and mirrors. Okay, so they're creating these smokes and media smoke and mirrors. So that's the reason why you constantly see reports are bombarded by racial unrest. You always hear about this white person and did this to this black person, and this white person and did this to this black person, and this and that. Then you had the white couple holding a gun out in front of people, and then you had the white senator saying this, and then Donald Trump tweeting this, and all this is designed to keep ripping them wounds off black people. Y'all don't even see how much the media is bombarded with racial unrest. And we black people are so ignorant sometimes, and I love y'all. I love y'all. But sometimes we are so ignorant that we get happy because we're getting media attention. They are paying attention to what's going on in the black community. They see us, they hear us, what? They're using our own issues. That's what the mirror means. They're using our reflection to smoke, to blind us from what's really going on around us. So while we're hearing reports bombarded with racial unrest and we're looking at racially motivated reporting, that we don't even realize the silence on major Supreme Court decisions that are eroding the Constitution. Ever since COVID hit, we don't realize, because first of all, they had us intoxicated with fear over COVID. We were so scared. Everybody's so scared. I wasn't scared, to be honest with y'all. Yeah, I still don't even really wear a mask that much when I go out in public. Only time I really put a mask on is when I'm in a place that's really small and it's a whole lot of people. And even then, I probably do like this. But I don't know. But anyway, they had us drunk with fear, intoxicated with fear over COVID. And because people were so scared, they stripped us of our civil rights. We couldn't go outside. We couldn't go this. We couldn't work. We couldn't do this. So many things we couldn't do. But we accepted those violations of our Constitution. We clearly. When you drunk, you let things slide. You wouldn't normally let things slide if you were sober. So they got us drunk with fear. So they were able to strip us of constitutional rights. They were able to shut down the church. And I was so frustrated and irritated at a lot of the responses to the church being closed. And everybody's saying, oh, well, the church are the people. The building doesn't matter. But yet these are the same people that is screaming they want reparations. But you don't understand the importance of the government taking control of the property of the church. You're the one screaming reparation. You want your 2 acres and a mule, but you don't understand the importance of the government taking control. Is going to continue to church. They're going to continue with this social distancing. They're going to continue with these rules on crowds and gatherings, and then eventually they're going to charge to change 501c3 law. I guarantee you, they're going to charge us change it. They're going to change the tax exemption, because what they're going to do is cripple these ministries and churches financially. And then the reason why they're able to hold on to their property, because their properties are tax exempt, so they don't have to pay property tax. So even if the churches are not getting enough money to financially, open and hold services and do certain things, they don't have to worry about having enough money to pay property tax because they're tax exempt. So the government is slowly setting this up And I believe eventually they're going to get rid of a lot of the tax exemptions for 501c3 churches. They're going to get rid of that property tax exemption. And then churches are going to be scrambling for ways to pay their property tax. But you're not going to be able to do it because they're going to have these social distancing in order. They're going to have it where you can't have church services. You can't have a lot of things. You can't do this. You can't do that. All because of COVID now, because they're looking to protect you. They're not trying to strip the church of its rights. And yeah, I'm saying the church is one of the largest landowners in the world. And just because the churches are owned by different organizations, the body of Christ as a whole is a very large landowner. So they might tell you that some of the largest landowners are somebody like Jeff Bezos and other people like that who own a lot of property. That's one person who owns a lot of property. But the body of Christ as a whole, the different organizations, is the biggest landowner in the world. So the government want that land. The government want that property. Best believe the government want it. They're trying to find a way to get it. So what they're doing now is that they're using this pandemic as a way to first shut down the church's ability to economically prosper. Because you have ministries that are suffering left and right now that don't have the money that they used to have, but they don't have to worry about their property because they're tax exempt. And you don't have a lot of churches who are flexible enough in thinking that they don't realize you can open up a business. You can do things with that property and that stuff that will keep the church financially secure and not have to worry, but try telling that to pastor. Okay. And so we're allowing the government to strip so much of our civil liberties away in the face of COVID-19. So now you have other things that are popping up now. You have the whole Black Lives Matter movement and the whole police brutality thing going on. And now they're talking about defunding the police. And now think about this for a minute, y'all. All y'all people screaming, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. What are we going to do without a police department? What are we going to do with no police officers? Now be smart. Don't run with emotion because y'all being stupid. They can't defund the police department. We can't have communities with no police officers because then all hell is going to break loose. And guess what they're going to do then? Move into martial law. Then you're going to invite the U.S. troops in here to police the people because we just screamed to fund the police. Stop being stupid, y'all. It's a setup, smoke and mirrors to get what they really want. And that's a police state. If they defund the police, what you think they're going to do? Just let us run around here and do what we want? Wake up. We can't defund the police. Jeez. Think about it now. So you got these court decisions that are going on where while COVID was in place, they made it okay for a government to violate the First Amendment of the Constitution and tell churches that they can't have service. Then I seen the governor of California now saying that churches are not allowed to sing in church because of protection from COVID-19. I'm not the devil at all. This is not the devil saying that people can't sing in church. This is not the devil saying that people can't hold church services. Meanwhile, the government is holding assemblies with just as much people as a church might have. But no, this is not the devil. The devil ain't got nothing to do. This is not evil. This is for your protection. Yes, it is. Wake up, people. See the devil's hand and what's going on. And then it's funny how the media is not talking about none of this stuff. You don't really hear about it too much. The media was reporting the infringements on First Amendment, but too many people were speaking out about it. Too many people was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, hold on, y'all doing a little bit too much." So then Ahmaud Arbery happened. Then this happened. Then that happened. Then now we ain't even paying attention to what the Supreme Court decisions are. But I have been. I've been looking like, but we all paying attention to this. And meanwhile, they just stripped away our First Amendment rights First of all, they did it with COVID because people were exposing the 5G networking and how that was impacting COVID statistics. But no, they just buried that whole thing. They quickly buried that because they started censoring that everywhere. If you brought up 5G and COVID-19, your post was taken down. Why do they fight so hard against that if that was just misinformation? Why did they fight so hard against it? It was for your protection. Yep, we violated the First Amendment for your protection. Is the American people so stupid that you're willing to let the government continue to strip your rights for your protection? Or is it okay to let you protect you? Is it okay to let me get this information and think the way I want to think? Do the government really need to protect me from critical thinking? Forming my own opinion? But because some of y'all so evil yourself in your own heart, you don't go to church and you don't care, that when they shut down the church, you didn't really care no way. It's amazing to me how many Christians did not care about the fact that the church was being stripped of its constitutional right. That disgusted me to my soul. The church is just a church. It's more than it's more than the people. It's the building. Okay, well then give up your house. Give up your property. Let somebody tell you what you can or cannot do in your house. Let somebody tell you where you can and cannot go and who you can and cannot have over there. It don't make no sense. And I do got some comments over here that I like to, put. I'm sorry, y'all. I was forgetting about them comments. But we got one comment from Derek Childs. He said, when Black Lives Matter to Black Lives Only, then will I support Black Lives Matter. I like that. So we need to understand that Black lives need to matter to Black people just as much as we want them to matter to everybody else. And then we have Autumn who says, she completely agrees. And then we have Derek who also mentioned 26 lives snatched away and not a police officer or a white person pulled the trigger. This is over the 4th of July weekend. 26 lives was killed, taken away, and it had nothing to do with the police officer. That was us doing damage to us. We need to think about it. We doing damage to ourselves, and we want people to care about our lives more than we do. And then it's amazing to me how the media is silent on the government's exploitation of current events. How are you ignoring the fact that the government is constantly stripping away rights, constantly stripping away civil liberties, constantly suppressing free speech? How come this stuff is not being screamed by media? Because they got smoke and mirrors to blind the public. They got whites mad at blacks and blacks mad at white, and they got us looking at each other fighting and fussing instead of realizing we all getting screwed over by government because they stripping us of our rights and we don't even realize it. While we arguing and fighting, they passing laws, girl. Child, sorry, because ain't all y'all girls. But while we arguing and fighting with each other over who should do this and who should do that, should we get reparations? And y'all need to apologize. And y'all white people wrong. And y'all black people this. And yeah. Government, while like, pass this law, sign this bill, do. They throw a little announcement out, but we so busy focusing on racially motivated news reporting that we're not seeing everything else that's going on. Okay? It's time for us to really realize what the government is doing and pay attention to that and realize that the media is being used as a tool by government to create smoke and mirrors while they do the dirt that they need to do behind the scenes to hone all the power to government and basically create a corporate tyranny over the citizens of the United States so they can move into the one world government. Because the things that I'm noticing with COVID is all of a sudden now we got coin shortages. You're being encouraged to use cashless purchasing. So many things are going on that's moving us towards the beast system in the cashless society, but we're all being blinded by public intoxication. We're being fed fear and drunken fear. Then we get drunk. We're drunk on anger, and we're intoxicated by all these emotions that we don't even realize that we're being robbed. The Bible says the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And while we're arguing and fighting, that's what he's doing. Killing, stealing, and destroying. But we think it's the racial thing. No, it's the government. Kill. They're killing our freedoms. They're stealing they're killing our religion, killing our faith, stealing our freedoms, and destroying peace on the land just so they can get all the power. But we so blind because we fighting with each other. Yep. Y'all ain't heard from me a while, but I'm going to leave y'all with this one little scripture as soon as I think of it again, because I was looking it up for y'all. But we have to remember that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And God wants me to leave y'all with this one scripture. And we got to remember this as Christians all the time. He says, this is 1 Peter 5:8. Let me go to King James Version because I really don't like all these other little weird versions. I'm old school, y'all. And let me share this with y'all. Let me give y'all this. It says, be sober and vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeing whom he may devour. You have to understand that you have an enemy that is looking to take you out. And he's going to do it by any means necessary. And until we realize that the government is a tool of the enemy, that we need to wake up. And that the media is a tool of the enemy. And we need to wake up. And the Black Lives Matter organization, not group, but the Black Lives Matter organization is a tool of the enemy. We need to wake up. We're getting pulled in every which way, not realizing it's the enemy. It's our adversary, the devil, looking to see who he can devour. Christians, it's time for us to get out here and start winning souls for Christ, because the end is near. It is. I feel like Jesus could come any second now, how bad it is. But you know what? It can always get worse. And I believe it is before he's going to come. And if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, look, it's time for you to take your salvation seriously, because the devil ain't playing with none of us, okay? And if you don't believe Jesus as your Lord and Savior, what I would encourage you to do is to get in prayer. It's time for, the time for games is out. It's time for us to get serious about our salvation, because any of us could die at any moment. If you guys are really concerned about police brutality, and you're really concerned about this coronavirus that's going on in the world and stuff like that, then you understand that death could hit any of us at any given time. So it's time for us to realize that salvation is needed. It's time for us to take those things seriously and realize that Jesus is the way, and he's the only way. He's the truth and the life. And he says that nobody comes to the Father except by him. So we have to understand that it's time to get saved. And if you want to get saved, there's a simple prayer on your screen right now. And it says, I love you, Jesus. I meant today that I am a sinner. I ask you by faith through grace to forgive me of my sins. I believe in my heart that you died for me. I thank you for coming to earth in a fleshly body and dying on the cross for the forgiveness of my sins. I believe you rose from the dead on the third day with all power over Satan. I believe you have given me that same power to defeat the very devil that tried to defeat you. I thank you for giving me your saving grace, righteousness, and deliverance power to free me from being a slave to sin. I ask you to guide me in all things through the ministry of the Holy Ghost. Give me the ability to understand the hidden truths in your word. I ask you for your wisdom, a loving heart, and a genuine desire to help others by fulfilling your will for my life. Jesus, you are now the Lord of my life, and my will is your will, and the word of God now rules me. Lead me to the church home that you would have me to go to. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Okay, so it's time for us to get serious with God. And there's so many wrong things going on in the world that God needs more spokespeople. He wants more of us reaching out. And I just want to thank you guys for tuning in with me today. I know you haven't seen me in such a long time, and I thank you for being here. And I want y'all to remember that no matter what, I am going to keep moving forward for God. I am going to keep doing what thus saith the Lord, and I'm gonna be posting more videos, more videos for you guys. So don't think that this is gonna be, the last of a video for a while. Nope, I'm gonna be here with y'all for a minute. And I've learned this new platform, so I'm going to continue to use it to the best of my ability. And I just want to thank y'all for tuning in. And you guys, see you later. Take care.